Joining me now is Bouthaina Shaaban, who is political and media advisor to President Assad. Bouthaina Shaaban, the US believed that it was striking IS positions. Do you accept America's expression of regret that it inadvertently hit Syrian military personnel?
No, we don't, because we don't feel that it was a mistake that killed tens of our soldiers. Those soldiers who were protecting over 300,000 civilians and who were protecting the city of Deir Ezzor for the last 2 years. And the reason why we don't believe that it was a mistake is that there were many planes in the sky shelling our soldiers. And the moment they shelled our soldiers, the terrorists came from the same hills that the Americans were covering. And the moment the Daesh terrorists occupied the area where our soldiers were, the American planes stopped shelling.
But,
so
the US says that it informed Russian officials that its aircraft would be in the area. Your allies, the Russians, had every chance to stop that American attack, and yet they didn't.
How could they stop them when the planes are shelling there? You know, how can they start shelling each other? The Russians did not know what the Americans are going to shell. They only knew that the Americans are, sending their planes up. But the Russians could not stop them because there were about 6 planes. They were shelling for quite a while.
But America but America warned Russia in advance. So Russia could have raised objections. Yeah. It didn't, says America.
But the Americans told the Russians that they are going to strike at ISIL, that they are going to strike at Daesh. They didn't tell the Americans they are going to strike the Syrian Arab Army. Of course, the Russians do not agree that the Americans strike the Syrian Arab Army.
You seem
so they only notified them.
You seem to be implying that America is in league with ISIS in some way, but ISIS has been feeding off the chaos that your war, that President Assad's war, has unleashed.
Well, listen, what I'm implying has some proof in reality that when the American coalition came to Syria saying that they are going to fight terrorism, they did not strike at any convoy. Daesh was expanding all over Syria.
Where does this leave the ceasefire that's now in its 6th day?
The Syrian government has adhered to the ceasefire, although many of the terrorist groups, which the United States is protecting, refused to adhere to the ceasefire. Still, however, the Syrian government would still like the ceasefire to succeed and to adhere to the cessation of hostilities, as they called them. But
surely we're just getting breaking news now from the Syrian Observatory of Human Rights that warplanes are striking Aleppo city for the first time in that supposed ceasefire. That surely makes a mockery of the truce, doesn't it?
I don't believe any of the reports given by those organizations that have somebody living in Coventry or in Europe and has no clue what is happening in the ground. For the last 6 years, the Syrian government has proven credible, has honored every word it said, and so did the Russians. The only ones who did not honor their words are the Americans, who pretend that they are fighting terrorism, but in reality, all their deeds and their prolonging of every process without any justification for years is only serving, is only serving terrorists.
OK, but hang on a second. If you say you are honouring this ceasefire, how is it then that there are trucks full of aid on Turkey's border with Syria? When do the people of Aleppo get that aid, or are you intent on starving them to death?
Not only the people of Aleppo, the Syrian people all over the country are getting aid. In the Badani, in Madaya, in Ma'addamiyya, in Kifraya, in El Fou'a, and in Aleppo. If there are technicalities that are being addressed in order to make sure that everything is safe, this doesn't mean that there is any hesitation on the Syrian government. After all, these are our people. And we are tired.
Yes, and your people,
excuse me,
your people are being massacred. Your people are being starved to death in Aleppo. Children, the victims of chlorine gas attacks just less than a fortnight ago.
Excuse me. My people are being massacred by Western forces' support of terrorists in Syria. Those are the ones who are massacring our people. If the United States had agreed with Russia 3 years ago to fight terrorism together, there would have been no terrorism in Syria. But it is the double standard practiced by the West regarding terrorism that is killing our people and, by the way, killing Western people, whether in Paris or Luxembourg or the United States or anywhere in Europe.
And for 5 years
of Western government.
And for 5 years, your boss, President Assad, has been massacring his own people. And less than a fortnight ago, we saw children gasping for breath after having been the victim of a chlorine gas attack in Aleppo.
We don't care what Western media circulates. We really don't care, because it has proven that it is irrelevant to our reality. President Assad has been standing by his people, has been fighting with his people for the unity of his country and for the integrity of his country. It is other forces in the region and outside the region who are destroying our country, destroying our infrastructure. And if you want a good example, just rethink of Iraq and of Libya. And what did Western forces do to Iraq and Libya? They destroyed both countries. What we are fighting for is to keep our country together in one piece and for our people, and to try to rid our country of all the terrorists and all the regional and international powers supporting them.
So you say you don't care about the reports in the Western media, but when you see pictures of children gasping for breath, and you are told that this has been done by President Assad, are you denying that you've used chlorine gas in this war?
Excuse me, I am the one who is living in Syria. I don't care about false reports. 1 week ago, 100 Syrians were killed in 6 cities in Syria by terrorist explosions. Not a single condemnation came from Western countries or from Western governments.
Have you used chlorine gas on your own people?
We are Syrians, and we have been fighting with our own people against terrorists and against all the regional and international powers supporting terrorists.
But these children are not terrorists.
To us.
These children are not terrorists. The doctor I spoke to a few days ago, the teacher I spoke to yesterday who's coming under attack, these are not terrorists. And you can't deny that you have used chlorine gas attacks, because you have.
Excuse me, if you insist on asking accusatory question, it is your problem. Our children are taken care of by our government. Your reports are irrelevant to our reality. It is enough treating us, as a colonial power. Western countries are still treating our countries as colonial. We are no longer colonized. We know how to defend our liberty and our freedom, and we do not take our assessment from you. We take our assessment from our own people. That's all what matters to us.
You can't blame...
What you say doesn't matter. What you say to us doesn't matter.
But you can't blame...
No significance.
OK, but you can't blame the Western governments for the barrel bombs that you've unleashed, the chlorine gas attacks that you refuse to deny, the fact that hundreds of thousands of people have died, millions have been displaced, and many of those that remain in your country are at risk of starvation. You can't blame the West for that.
You are only rehashing what I heard 1,000 times on your media. You are only rehashing it. I can blame Western countries and Turkey, especially the government of France and Britain, because they are selling armament to Saudi Arabia and Qatar and getting a lot of money out of that, and that's why they are supporting terrorism in Syria. If you want, I can give you a 1-hour-long lecture about what is happening in Syria. But please don't lecture me from London about what's happening in Syria. I am here every single minute of the day.
Okay, we only have a minute left of this interview. So I want to ask you, if you have been able, you've been railing against the West here, have you been able to take your concerns to the new British Prime Minister? Have you spoken to the new British Prime Minister at all?
You are only using the interview to assert on your accusatory question. And
no, I'm asking you.
I'm talking.
No, I'm asking you. I'm sorry for interrupting. I'm asking you a straightforward, factual question. Have you been speaking to the British Prime Minister, the new British Prime Minister, Theresa May?
I'm only talking to your audience and to your viewers to say to them, do not trust what you see and what you hear. Come to Syria and see what's happening for yourself, and then you would never believe what is being circulated in Western media about Syria. That's all.
Bouthaina Shaaban, thank you very much for joining me.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.